I'm not exaggerating when I say DC absolutely cooked with this new Superman movie. I just watched the film, so here's my full spoiler-free thoughts on the best and worst parts of the movie. So this movie skips the origin story of Superman and instead throws us into a world where superheroes and metahumans have existed for hundreds of years. Superman's already been around for 3 years, and we literally start this movie like right in the middle of an ongoing conflict, and that's immediately the first positive. Because James Gunn smartly realizes that, like, yeah, everybody on the planet knows who Superman and Lois Lane are. They know that Lex is the villain. They know what Krypton it is. We don't need to spend like an hour of the movie explaining all this and showing how the world reacts to it. And this new DC universe, the world in it already feels so alive and vibrant in comparison to something like the MCU, which I do obviously love the MCU, and this is only one movie in. I'm not saying it's better or anything already, but I can't lie, it's just really refreshing to watch a new comic book movie that's not afraid to embrace the more sci-fi and fantastical elements of the comic books. Like, we just got straight up monsters, insane technology, everything right off the bat in this movie. Next, I need to highlight the casting of the characters. Across the board, it's pretty amazing. Starting with David Corenswet as Superman, it's pretty hard to beat Christopher Reeve. He is so iconic and like the staple of this character, but David Corenswet honestly gives him a good run for his money at being the best Superman we've ever seen on screen. And this movie really holds back on how much Clark Kent you get. Like, there's barely any of him like working in the Daily Planet. You get a few scenes of that, but most of this movie you're just watching actually Superman himself, and I think that's why this film works so well. Again, everybody knows that Clark Kent is his alter ego disguise and everything. We don't need to see a ton of it. Let's just focus in on the core of the story of him being Superman. Like, yeah, he's saying a bunch of super corny lines and he's way too trusting of people and just super wholesome overall, but that's what makes Superman works. He's supposed to be kind of corny. And there's multiple moments in this movie where Superman just does like the most Superman thing imaginable, saves some civilian or something, hits some pose flying in the sky, and the Superman theme song kicks in, and you're just like, yeah, this is what a Superman movie should be. Like I said, the casting across the board is pretty great. Now, this movie is only about 2 hours long, not including the credits, and there are a lot of characters. I never felt like it was overstuffed, although I do think a couple characters just could have had a few extra scenes, like Lois Lane in particular. She does have a lot to do in this film. I feel like she just needed 1 or 2 more scenes to kind of flesh her character out a bit. Ethan Fillion as Guy Gardner was absolutely hilarious in this movie, probably the comedy MVP. We get the most lore accurate Jimmy Olsen of all time. This dude was an absolute Riz god, had some really funny moments as well. Mr. Terrific actually surprised me with how much he had to do in this movie. He's kind of like the third or fourth main character of the entire film, but I actually really liked it. It's a great performance and a great new character I'm excited to see more of going forward. I think Hawkgirl is like the one character that's kind of forgotten about, and it's not really a negative for the movie. It's obviously not the Hawkgirl film. I just feel like in comparison to all the other side characters, she really only has like one scene to shine in and otherwise just feels forgotten about. So again, not really a negative, just kind of a nitpick. But I gotta be honest, I think the MVP of this movie might be Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. This is just a true, just evil for the sake of being evil, cartoonish villain. And even though I'm describing him as cartoonishly evil, he also does like perfectly represent a lot of the actual tech billionaires in our world and the things they're trying to do with kind of these different wars they're orchestrating. And you'll see when you watch this movie, this film is not holding back about its like political views and everything. The main conflict is pretty much centered around, once again, a tech billionaire and these two fictional countries that definitely represent two real countries that have a very real conflict going on in real life. But seriously, the level of hatred that Lex Luthor feels for Superman in this movie is just absolutely perfect. I honestly inspire to reach this level of just pettiness because I am a hater myself. And even characters like Crypto, like, yeah, he's literally just in the movie to be like the cute dog to throw in the marketing and have some really funny moments. But I'm sorry, I'm a dog person. It absolutely worked. He had some really funny moments and great action scenes even helping out Superman. And speaking of Crypto helping out Superman, let's just shift over to the action in general in this movie. I think a lot of the fight scenes are really great. Now, I absolutely love the Christopher Reeve 1978 Superman movie. It's super iconic, inspired pretty much every superhero movie that came after it. But watching this new Superman film definitely makes you realize, yeah, the action and fight scenes benefit so much from modern technology, CGI, and visual effects. Like I mentioned with the world in general, and it's true of all the action and fight scenes, everything is just so big, theatrical, and fantastical. Like, this movie is not trying to be realistic or grounded whatsoever, and that's why I like it so much. It just feels like you're genuinely watching like an alternate universe. Now, let's talk about the humor in this movie, because I know this is something a lot of people are worried about. Is it going to be way too over the top with the jokes and undercut a lot of the emotional moments? I don't think that happens at all. It's definitely a James Gunn film. There are tons of jokes in this movie, and I'm not gonna lie, some of them completely fell flat or felt like they were just targeted towards way younger audiences than me. But for the most part, I do think the humor really works well, and just again, is the levity that you kind of need in a Superman story, and it does get more serious and there's some more darker moments in the movie, but for the most part, this is a pretty lighthearted film. I really can compare the tone and humor of this movie to like the first two Guardians films, kind of a combination of Guardians 1 and 2. A lot of the humor and emotional beats feels like ripped straight out of this, which obviously makes sense. These are James Gunn movies too. Definitely like the humor of Guardians 1 with some of the more emotional moments of Guardians 2. It definitely doesn't get as serious as like Guardians 3 in any moment really. And the humor is definitely a little bit more PG and kind of tamed down from even the Guardians films, and especially his R-rated projects like the Suicide Squad or Peacemaker. But like I said, there are still lots of really funny moments and jokes that do genuinely land, because James Gunn is just good with humor. If you find any of his previous projects funny, you will like this film. But if you're someone that wants like the super serious Man of Steel Superman, yeah, you're not even getting anything close to that. I think this movie does look pretty good visually. It's not gonna like absolutely blow you away or anything. It's not like a Blade Runner 2049, but it is a very good looking Superman movie. Lots of very inspired shots. I think the action is shot very well. The movie's very vibrant and colorful. It's definitely trying to be like a comic book brought to life in both the tone and the visuals, which I think works, kind of gives it a very unique feel in comparison to pretty much every DC film we've had in the last like 20 years. Now, I don't think this visual style and tone is going to work for like every DC project going forward, and I think James Gunn knows that. Like, Superman's going to feel very different from like the Lanterns TV show or the Batman movie we eventually get, and that's what has me so excited for the future of this DC universe. Now, speaking of the future of the DC universe, I think this film does do a very good job at subtly teasing the future. There's nothing like abrupt, like, oh yeah, this is what's coming next, but there's a few nice little cameos and characters showing up, and like I said, this world just feels so alive with characters like the Justice Gang that contain Guy Gardner and Mr. Terrific and Hawkgirl, that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm excited to see more of these characters in the future projects. We gotta talk about the musical score and just the music in general. Obviously, with a James Gunn film, you know he loves to have tons of needle drops and real songs, but he kind of holds back in this film. I think there's only like 2 or 3 real songs that play. They are actually used pretty perfectly in the film, especially the movie that plays towards the end of the film and through the credits. Really, it was just like the perfect song to choose. The score from John Murphy, it's obviously ripping and borrowing a lot from the John Williams iconic Superman theme, but it works so perfectly in this, I'm sorry. In a lot of the reviews that came out the other day, pretty much all the positive and negative ones were saying that this movie felt overstuffed, like there's way too much going on, and that it felt messy at times. I'm not gonna lie, it's definitely a lot going on in this film, but everything has a very clear reason for why it's happening in the plot. If you're literally just paying attention to the movie, everything's perfectly explained and easy to follow. And I kind of love the breakneck speed at which this movie moves. Like I said, we kind of start the film right in the middle of the conflict already, and it never really slows down besides a few like more serious moments between a few different characters. But for the most part, this thing is just going at full speed the entire time, and I kind of loved it. I genuinely think that Marvel losing James Gunn to DC might go down as one of the biggest fumbles of all time, because obviously it's not like Marvel's going away anytime soon. Thunderbolts just got great reviews. They got the Fantastic Four this year, Spider-Man and Avengers Doomsday next year. They're going to be making billions of dollars all over the place. But this DC universe, like I said, we're only 1 project in, or 2 if you count Creature Commandos, and it already feels so alive and vibrant in a completely different and refreshing way than the MCU, that I think if you're someone that feels like you're experiencing superhero movie fatigue, this film's really going to work for you, because it just feels so different than a lot of comic book projects we've gotten lately. I think James Gunn really just understands how to make a truly human story that a lot of people can connect with, and like I said, it's great that he's not really rushing things. Like, we're not teasing a huge team-up event. We just have some very small teasers of things coming down the pipeline. But it seems like he's truly letting this universe breathe and take its time to just tell great individual stories. And I'm sure at some point we are going to get a Justice League movie or something, but I think he's making a very great decision in taking his time and not following the mistakes of what the MCU has been doing lately, where every project just feels like a stepping stone for the future. No, you have to make every project great in its own. So no, this movie's not like the most mind-blowing story you're ever going to see or anything, but it does exactly what it needs to do. It's a super fun time from start to finish, and I'm giving it a strong 9 out of 10. I don't care. I had a blast with this film. We'll be dropping a full spoiler-filled review later this week when the movie's actually out to the public, so if you want to hear that, hit that subscribe button, and make sure to tap the playlist above me to see all my other DC videos on the channel. I'm going to be making a ton this week, like Superman rankings, James Gunn rankings, and so much more.